writings. And then what follows? You get the Greek New Testament, right? So again, Egyptian territories, the Confucians, clear it up real quick. Egyptian Empire, these are black people, all black people. The land we call Israel, black people are there. So when you have this conversion or them trying to force Zeus Aman, Serapis on these people, they wasn't buying it. Judaism was indoctrinated with the kids because that's how you do it. You start with the kids. Generation will bring it up, the next generations. So this is what happened. And we have this, understanding, this teaching that we call the Jewish faith or what have you, indoctrinated, forced onto the people, and they spread it. This is why, of course, when we go back, a lot of people see the Black Madonna and all these black references to biblical figures or what have you. And all these people being black, a lot of, because, everybody who knows anything knows Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. Come on. And anybody who existed during this time, dark-skinned people, black, period. So the confusion comes in right there to where they're looking at after these people being made Jews. There was no Judaism before this, and can't nobody on this planet prove that it was. Every piece of pottery, shard, and so-called amulet or whatever, writings is suspect. And everything is pseudo. Everything is bull. None of it is 100% proven concrete to give us any true validity. It's what these people choose to believe. So when they give you any type of information, pay attention and look at it. But just use common sense. These people, when you know the story, they didn't exist. There's no biblical Jews. There's no biblical Jews at all. It's the book and you believing that history versus actual history. It's the Romans and the Greeks forcing this doctrine on the black people who lived in that area and then forcing them to go out and teach it and spread it. Plain and simple. I mean, ask yourself, come on. They try to give validity to what they did with the Old Testament. And I mean what that is, God gives them 10 commandments. Don't kill, don't steal. But then he commands them to do exactly that. You pay attention. God, commandments, thou shalt not kill, thou shalt not steal. But then he says, go, utterly destroy these people, namely the Hittites and the Hivites and the Perizzites and the Jebusites and what have you. Go kill them, wipe them out. Take their shit and divide it amongst yourselves. That's basically what it says. And that's what they do. But thou shalt not kill or steal. But if God says to do it, it's okay. It's fine. God said, go conquer these people. And it just so happened that these tribes that are being mentioned in the Bible, that I'm telling you to go wipe out, these are black people. Because when you follow their line, it goes back to Ham, who's supposedly the progenitor of African people. So all these people you're going to go conquer and kill is African people, which is why these black Hebrews who you following, not all of them, this is why I don't like African people. Because they say, the Africans sold us into slavery. It was never no good. When that has been completely debunked. You would have to believe that every single slave that was supposedly put on ships and, brought to America, every single one of them was a Hebrew. Everyone. When we already can prove that that's not true because we have Songhai, people from the Mali Empire. Songhai Empire was enslaved. We have people who were clearly Muslim enslaved. So we already know and we can prove that that's not true, that all these people had to be, Hebrews. So then, that's out the way. When you get into the Igbo, and I know a lot of people talking about the Yoruba and Igbo and all these tribes and so-called Hebrew people in Africa. Yeah, of course, because it's been around for a long time. We're not doubting or debating that there was Hebrews in Africa. Of course, because they spread the religion. The problem is it doesn't go past the 4th century BCE. It doesn't go past when the Greeks conquered the Egyptian Empire. So it doesn't go into any of that. So when you start getting into biblical history, it doesn't match up with actual history. You can have all the Igbo and all these other tribes you want to claim is Hebrew. So what? Yeah, it doesn't give validity to Judaism. It doesn't give validity to what the black Hebrews are teaching. It doesn't at all. It just says that these people are older than what you realize. They've been around for a long time, which that is true. So when you go into Ethiopia, when you're going into a lot of these ancient African civilizations, and you're finding Hebrew teachings, what have you, of course. It's the same thing with the Ethiopian Bible. Yeah, of course. Ethiopian Bible is not the oldest Bible. So if you've seen those memes, what have you, floating around, it's not. It's not older than the Septuagint Greek. And it is the Abba Garima Bible that was copied from a Byzantine royal, Abba Garima. That's him that's on the cover of the book. He supposedly wrote that book for them. This is a white man, and gave it to them. Their monastery is called the Abba Garima Monastery. So it's not that, they had this book before. It was given to them, plain and simple. And it doesn't predate. It was copied from a Greek manuscript, by the way. And it doesn't predate the Septuagint Greek. It's not older than that. So people who are hanging on that being somehow an African book, it's just not. We always talk about how they came into Africa with religion, gave it to us, left with our gold and resources. We understand this. So when you got to just look at the transition, these people gave you a book that's talking about don't kill, don't steal, turn the other cheek, love your enemies, love the government. It's a bad thing to be rich. If you're rich, it's going to be impossible to get into heaven. Meanwhile, the people that's pushing this and torture this is the richest people on the planet. They have all the resources. They're conquering your people. And you're following this book, waiting for this Messiah to return while they're getting richer and more powerful. Who does this benefit for you to just sit back and be like, well, everything's going to be all right. Y'all going to get yours in the end. Because that's what they're teaching you, these Hebrews. Everything's going to be okay. In the end, they're going to get theirs. Where are you going to be? How many people die waiting for that? How fitting is that for them, for you to wait while they take everything and conquer everything, and you sit back like, that's okay. Take all my stuff. You're going to get yours. You're going to be dead before anything happens because nothing is going to happen. Nobody's coming back to save anything. You want to believe it because you want to hold on to something that's feeding that hate, that pain that you have inside of you for what happened, what's been taking place. But it's not in the Black Hebrew teaching. All you got to do is do a little bit of research. Deuteronomy 28:68. Yeah, it's dope. It's talking about Black people. It's talking about Black slaves, hands down. So why can I confidently say that? Because it is. It's talking about Black people. It doesn't fit anybody else on the planet but the Black slaves. The problem is, you believe that was written 2,000 years ago. And it wasn't. It was written between 1604, 1611. It's the King James Version. The older manuscripts says nothing about, going back to Egypt on ships, Deuteronomy 28:68. It's not talking about what it's talking about in the King James Version in the older manuscripts. It's different. Prove this in my video. And so people want to believe that it's some kind of prophecy, that this stuff was written over 2,000 years ago by Moses, and it's just not true. So we know this is a King James Version written when slavery was already in full swing. So they already knew about the yoke of iron. They already knew what was happening to the slaves and what they was going to be doing to us later on. So it's not a prophecy. They just wrote down what they was going to do and what was already happening. So when you guys are watching these Hebrew videos, first thing they do, they go to the Bible. And that's their proof. And the Bible is the book that's in question, so it can't be used as proof when it's in question. We are debating the book itself, so it can be used as factual information. They talk all this stuff and get hype and pull out a book that's not proof, and y'all just accept it. There's no proof. There's no proof of any of this. So you can't use the Bible as proof to prove the point about this teaching when the book is not proven. So how are we going to this book to prove anything? It's not proven. So, when we use the book, it's to basically say, y'all believe in this. So we're going to use it to say what you believe in, to basically, debunk, what you believe in, because you believe in this stuff that's not proven. And y'all have to stick to that. We don't. We don't have to stick to it. We could just say, hey, it has been proven. That can be my answer for every single thing I got to say. End of the debate. Prove it. Oh yeah, prove it. He did what? Prove it. And they can't. So there is no debate. So people are going to be upset. A lot of people want to accept those teachings. Kyrie's a good ball player, but, somebody set him straight because he apologized. And the information it's just so easy to just debunk when you just read the book itself. It doesn't make sense. And if you read it, you don't like, why would you want to be that race? Why would you want to be these people? They the stupidest people in the Bible. There's no way in the world that we just look at black people today. Look at how we are in church. People are devoted, going to church, and just if they seen anything as far as close to a miracle, they flipping out. They're on the ground shaking, going into the Holy Ghost at any sight or sound of anything, right? So in the Bible, when you look at the story with the Hebrews, the Israelites, these people see God's power. They see what the Israelites are doing. They see Elisha, powers, Moses parting the sea, so many things they seen with their own eyes, and yet they still disobeying God time after time after time, to the point to where they scattered and God's killing them off. And come on, when they seen his power, it's nowhere in the world we would see God's power and what he's trying to do for us, which is basically the purpose of our life, why we're here. And we're actually following this, and we have a chance to, be something great, and we just mess it up for what? It's stupid. It's stupid. They're giving you a story. It's an allegorical story. It's a parable. It's there to be, exactly what it is. Esoteric, to point to something else. And that's what you have to accept when you look at this doctrine. It's the same as being a Christian. If you believe what they're saying, a lot of these Hebrews, and saying, well, the Bible was tampered with. Or they just used the Bible to enslave us. And you got to ask yourself, well, why did God allow it? When in the Bible, he didn't allow nothing. He was killing people left and right for the stupidest shit. But he allowed these people to do what they did. I mean, look around. Look what they accomplished. And he allowed that, but, killing people for stupid shit. Let my people go. What happened to the Jews and what he did to the Pharaoh, and the plagues and everything that happened to let the people go. Then the people finally go just to go and wander and starve to death and die off and go through all the hell, eating their babies and everything like that. It don't make sense. Then supposedly we the Jews, and we get re-enslaved again in America and go through hundreds of years of bullshit, all because we fucking succumb to human nature. So we are cursed because God, who is perfect, created imperfect beings. And he got mad because these imperfect beings he created, and him supposedly being perfect, failed because he created us to fail, because he knew we was going to fail, because he didn't make us perfect as he is perfect. It's come on, man. So this is why we're cursed. This is why everything's happening to black people, according to the Hebrews. We're cursed because we disobeyed, because we succumbed to what he gave us to succumb to. It doesn't make sense. It don't fit. It's stupid. You got to wake up and snap out of this shit, understand exactly what the teaching is. It's not what you think it is. It's deeper shit to it. For you to be walking around grown as fuck, believing in talking fucking snakes and donkeys, people surviving 3 days in a big fish, Jesus raising the dead and walking on water, like, come on, man. And you expect people to take you seriously when you're talking to them about this shit, and you don't follow it anyway in the first place. It don't make sense. So whatever you choose to accept, you're not going to follow it. It's impossible to follow it. That's the point. They promised you a prize that's impossible for them to give you. So they made the rules impossible for you to follow. And the rules is, be perfect as your heavenly Father's perfect. Which if he's fucking not, obviously, when you read the book. So he's human because he's you. And that's the point of the book. Devil is you, God is you. I got into all this. But you got to understand, people who had questions, the shot with Dr. Ben, I mean, anybody who knows about Dr. Ben knows this already. Everybody know how I feel about Dr. Ben. It's who I first, researched when I got into this before YouTube and social media shit. I've been doing this for over 20 years. So, yeah, he's, he has books. And Dr. Ben gets into all of this. So don't let them Hebrews, try to mess with you on consciousness about Dr. Ben. Dr. Ben knew exactly what was going on. He knew where the shit came from. And just because he claimed Judaism, that's what he was raised on, and that Jewish family or whatnot, he told you clear as day he didn't believe in the shit. It's mythology. Told you where it came from, told you it came from Kemet. That's what he wrote about. That's what he followed. So again, this stuff is esoteric. So in teaching this, you have to still, refer to Hebrews. You got to refer to these people because they did exist at some point after they was made up. So these people still was existing, calling themselves Jews and Hebrews, but they was created. They didn't exist, before the creation, if you understand. So we can prove this. So it's just going back into conquest and using common sense and saying, okay, before the fall of Egypt, do we see Judaism? No, we don't. Do we see the Greeks dressing as Egyptians, worshiping Zeus Ammon and Serapis Christos? No, we don't. We see this at the fall. So if this stuff was around, it would still been there. It tells you it was created for a specific reason. So, whether you want to follow Jesus or whoever you want to follow, you got to go back and look at history and see what happened. Same thing. Roman Empire, the Etruscans was the original black people who was there, was in Rome. They were conquered by who we see as the Romans today. They were conquered, and that's where the transition happened. See, they wrote it out of history. So these people who was there, they was ruling black people. And, there was no black, white back then. It was, okay, well, they married into the families and they was wiped out. Slowly but surely. It's just not in the history books, but it's what must have happened when you just pay attention, because you have this hidden transition from the black Romans into these white people. And this is where the confusion comes into play, because nobody knows what happened, because the people who control the history books and history is not telling you, but it's common sense. What we know was black people there first, and we have the proof of this, how they become a white civilization and a white empire. They took it the same way they took Kemet, the same way they took Europe, the same way they took everything. They took it. So we can't look at colonization of the Caribbean islands and the Taino people, South America, and, Australia, they're Aborigines. Looking at this conquest all over the world, they have books on its history. We look at that, but we want to go further back and see the conquest. This is what people forget. You got to look at conquest. That will reveal everything. What took place before conquest? What was there? And that's where everything stops. The history stops. And they got to get into biblical nonsense because they can't prove themselves as existing. So as I said, you can go into every race of people on the planet. Plain and simple. Trace them back, you'll find indigenous people, especially dark. So to go to Africa, you can see us still living primitively. China, still see them living primitively. Thailand, Cambodia, I showed you guys when I was there in the village, living primitively. Show me the white people that's living like those Africans in the wild, still to this day. As I said, you're not going to find no white people that's like Ace Ventura, living like that look like that. So that tells you something happened. These people conquered. They were not indigenous to nowhere. So we get into all this, but yeah, as far as the Hebrew, the video, and a lot of people following this because, they just can't bang with Christianity because, it sounds crazy, but don't make the same mistake you made with Christianity with this. You didn't do no research with Christianity if you didn't read the book. If you did, clear as day, you'd have walked away from it and said, it's some bullshit. It's the same thing here. Don't make the same mistake. Do the research. If you do, clear as day, you'll come to the right conclusion, which is basically what I'm telling you here. So yeah, want to clear it up real quick. Got plenty of videos on my channel that gets into this information. Make sure you guys check it out. Also, make sure you guys take advantage of the sales, probably down. So just check it real quick. It might still be up, but it's going to be gone for sure by the end of tomorrow. And if not, I'll see you next video. Thanks for watching.